Scarlett has always wanted to be a top-tier chef and have her own restaurant. She used to cook with her mother when she was just a little girl. Now, she works at her own restaurant, alongside her manager, Claire, who always pushes Scarlett to perform her absolute best. Claire tells Scarlett that one of the restaurant's waitresses has mixed up the orders between two customers, and one of those customers wants something off the menu. Scarlett says that she would take care of it, as long as she creates an extraordinary dish. Scarlett has always believed that great cooking is not like a small route to be followed. Rather, the chef has to find the magic in every dish. Scarlett always spells the letters in the word magic separately. Scarlett was able to impress the upset customer, and she sits down with Claire after the restaurant closes. Claire tells Scarlett that even though their restaurant always delivers the best food in the city, their sales always slump during the holiday season. Claire breaks the terrible news of the restaurant closing down for good to Scarlett. If Scarlett doesn't come up with a solid holiday menu for the restaurant, Scarlett doesn't believe that a holiday menu would do wonders for her restaurant, as a holiday menu can bring down the quality of a restaurant for being just plain simple. Claire fears that their main investor, Stetson, might pull out his stake from the restaurant if the sales continue to decline. Scarlett doesn't take this seriously, as she thinks that Stetson loves them. During that night, Claire continues to convince Scarlett for coming up with a holiday menu. The next morning, Scarlett is shopping for groceries, and when she is almost done, she notices that the store doesn't have any potatoes left, as the guy at the counter is paying for the last batch of potatoes. Scarlett tries to plead with the man to split the potatoes with her, and she would be willing to pay for his potatoes as well. When the guy turns around to talk to Scarlett, the guy recognizes Scarlett immediately. Scarlett realizes after a few seconds that she is standing right next to one of her old and close colleagues, James. Both of them used to go to a cooking school together. He is surprised to find Scarlett as competitive and consistent as she was, and still is after how she was asking for the potatoes. He promises to give Scarlett the potatoes for free if she sings him a song that she used to sing back in school. Although she is hesitant to sing, Scarlett ends up singing and gets the potatoes free of cost. Later that night, the restaurant's main investor, Stetson, arrives and enjoys an incredible meal. He excitingly shares, with both Scarlett and Claire, how he loved the meal that was presented to him, and how every customer in the restaurant was happy with the restaurant's service. However, even with this wonderful take on Scarlett's culinary skills, and Claire's effective management of the restaurant, Stetson sadly informs them that he is considering selling his stake in the restaurant. He further adds that the numbers aren't performing that well lately, and the buzz surrounding Scarlett's restaurant has faded. He worries that another down holiday season could result in a big loss for the restaurant. Before he could finalize his decision, Claire tells Stetson that Scarlett is working on her brand new holiday menu. Upon asking more about it, Scarlett, who hasn't planned anything at the moment, says that the menu would revolve around serving fresh and seasonal dishes that would get the customer in the holiday spirit. Stetson is ecstatic to hear this and says that if everything works out, he'll keep on investing in the restaurant. He gets more excited and decides to call Wyatt, who is one of the biggest food critics in the city, and would be reviewing the holiday menu with him. Scarlett is still not ready to create a holiday menu, as she still thinks that the restaurant's quality would be vastly affected by it. Claire says that if their main investor leaves, the restaurant would receive bad press, and it would be all downhill from there. She advises Scarlett to create a simple holiday menu, but Scarlett says that creating a new menu requires dedication, and most importantly inspiration, which she lacks right now. Scarlett says that she can't be forced to make a new menu, she needs to find inspiration first. Otherwise, Wyatt, who is a tough critic to impress, won't improve the new menu. Claire tells Scarlett has to do something, not only for herself but also for their restaurant. That night, Scarlett sits down with her mother and asks her if she ever had a restaurant fail. Scarlett's mother, who has been highly successful in this business with her husband, says that she never failed with any new recipes, even the ones she didn't like, as according to her, all a chef has to do is to find new ways to make a recipe interesting. Scarlett tells her all about her restaurant and how it could possibly go out of business. Scarlett's mother advises Scarlett to listen to Claire, as Claire wants the best for the restaurant. She believes that it is perfectly normal to put trust in and listen to your manager, something Scarlett should do with Claire. Scarlett's mother has complete faith in her daughter and knows that she would figure out a way and would create a strong holiday menu, even if Scarlett doesn't want to. The next day, Scarlett tells Claire that she appreciates what Claire has done for her and the restaurant, and she will give a shot at creating the holiday menu. Claire shows Scarlett a cooking class she found for her, The Seasoning of Christmas. Scarlett is not up for joining that class, as it is mostly for beginners, and it won't do any good for trained chefs like her. Scarlett says that she can change some of her existing recipes for the holiday menu, but Claire persuades her to give the cooking class a shot for inspiration. Scarlett is not sold on the cooking class, but agrees to join it as she believes in Claire. Scarlett reaches the location where the cooking class would be taking place. She meets the rest of the students, that includes Rosie and her husband Ed. Scarlett is also introduced to Jackie and the newly engaged couple, Bryce and Gloria. Everyone is looking forward to the course, and Scarlett seems to get along with the rest of her classmates well. The instructor and the one who would be teaching the course arrived, and it turns out to be James. He appreciates everyone who has joined this course and hypes them up with all the holiday dishes they would be learning and preparing. Scarlett is more than surprised to see James teaching this course. James suggests that all of them should head to the city and deliver gifts to the local shops in order to get into the right holiday spirit. James was a bit surprised to find out that Scarlett has joined his course, considering she is a well-known and trained chef. Scarlett doesn't want James to know the reality of her restaurant possibly shutting down. She lies to James that she has hired a few new chefs, and she has to teach them different holiday dishes, which is why she has taken this course to brush up her skills. Even though both of them were competitive with each other in the past, James is happy for Scarlett and her restaurant. The first day of the course begins, and before James could start teaching, he asks his students why they have decided to take this course. Rosie and Ed say that they have been happily married for 28 years, and since they only know how to cook one dish, their family has asked them to stop hosting. They decided to take this course so that they can learn new recipes and tricks. Jackie tells everyone that Christmas is her favorite time of the year, and as her children are out of the city, she thought about joining this course to sharpen up her already good cooking skills and holiday recipes. Bryce and Gloria say that they have been engaged for not too long, and they plan on bringing their family together in the upcoming month. Gloria knows how to cook a few dishes, and Bryce doesn't have much experience. They have taken this course so that they can present each other's family with good dishes. Scarlett tells everyone her reason for joining the course, the same one she told James. She boasts about how she used to perform well in the cooking school where she studied, and she has a restaurant now. James messes with Scarlett a little bit, saying that Scarlett was never at the top of her class every single time, as James gave Scarlett a tough time. James tells everyone that Scarlett would be assisting him in that day's session. Scarlett takes notes of the recipes she has learned and gives her own twist on them. When Rosie asks Scarlett for her help in cutting some vegetables, James interrupts her and starts sarcastically messing with her again. In the next lesson, Scarlett assists James. James instructs everyone to make meringue cookies and design them creatively. Everyone starts making meringue cookies the way James tells them to, but Scarlett, who likes to make dishes her own way, starts following a new method to make the cookies. James disagrees with Scarlett's methods, as he believes that the key method here is to make a simple dish in a creative way, rather than make it entirely different. Scarlett talks with Claire on the phone, and she tells that James is as stubborn as he used to be back in the cooking school. When asked about the sales at the restaurant, Claire informs her that the sales are continuing to decline. Scarlett promises her that she would create a rock-solid holiday menu and won't let her down. Claire trusts Scarlett and her efforts. James assigns his students to come up with 3 new gingerbread concepts. Scarlett sits down with Jackie and Gloria. They ask Scarlett what her restaurant is mostly about. Scarlett explains that her restaurant is all about upscale European cuisine. Both Jackie and Gloria are impressed. Jackie loves the holiday season, and she admits that she has taken many courses like this one over the past many years. Scarlett asks the reason for that, and Jackie replies that her husband passed away many years ago, and she does this to stay busy during the holiday season. Scarlett offers her sympathies, but Jackie says that she is in a better place, even if she gets to see her family during the time of Christmas. Gloria shares that she and Bryce are a bit nervous about the upcoming dinner to which they have invited both of their families, but they are confident now that they have joined this course. Jackie teases Scarlett when she says that Scarlett might have a connection with James. Scarlett admits that James has gotten more handsome over the years, but there's no such thing between them. Scarlett talks with her mother on the phone, and she describes her experience with the course so far. Her mother shares her own experience of what she used to do when she was told to do something she didn't like, and how she would find something that would guide and inspire her. The next day, James asks everyone to show him the gingerbread designs they have come up with. While he appreciates the efforts of every single one, he criticizes gingerbread designs of Scarlett, as they are too complex. He thinks that gingerbread designs should be simple and fun. Scarlett disagrees with James. James asks Scarlett for some assistance outside. Scarlett and James argue about what makes a good chef, with great cooking skills. James believes that a good chef knows how to take directions, but Scarlett thinks that a good chef should give directions rather than take them. Scarlett tells Claire about every holiday dish she has come up with on the phone. Claire finds Scarlett to be uninspired, and Scarlett doesn't lie to her, as she really isn't excited about the dishes she has planned for the holiday menu. Scarlett still feels that the magic is missing from the dishes she has thought of. Wyatt calls Scarlett and tells her that he is aware that Scarlett is out of the city. Scarlett says that she went out of the city to find inspiration for the new dishes that would be on the holiday menu. Wyatt appreciates Scarlett's effort and consistency in remaining innovative with her dishes. Wyatt lets her know that he has been following Scarlett's work for a very long time and is looking forward to Scarlett's new holiday menu. Scarlett hopes not to disappoint Wyatt in any way possible. Scarlett goes to a bookstore and asks the store employee if she has any books regarding new holiday dishes. The store employee sadly doesn't have what Scarlett is looking for. James tells his students that they would be preparing real dishes this time. As everyone is preparing their food, James finds Scarlett going a little bit further in making her food look unique. James finds her dedication to be unmatched, but advises Scarlett to not take everything seriously. Scarlett has made gingerbread that is to be eaten with a spoon rather than in the form of cookies. James disagrees with Scarlett, so Scarlett decides to present the dish to the rest of her classmates. Although they appreciate the unique taste of the dish, they still think that gingerbread is always fun in the form of cookies. Scarlett is a little heartbroken by everyone's lukewarm reaction to her new dish. Later that night, James apologizes to Scarlett for being somewhat rude with his critique of Scarlett's dish. He opens up to Scarlett about how he once had a restaurant, and he poured every ounce of his heart into it, but the restaurant ended up failing in the end. He also discloses that he got into teaching other students who wanted to become a chef, and he has loved this job ever since because he is good at it. Scarlett appreciates James's honesty and tells him the truth about why she's here. She says that her restaurant is failing as well, and she came here to get inspiration for a new holiday menu. If her critic, Wyatt, doesn't approve of the menu, her restaurant would shut down for good. When he is looking at the schedule he has made for the course, James decides to scratch the final project. He tells everyone that he has decided to skip the final project, and he wants everyone to create their own signature dish with what they have learned so far. He also announces that there would be a judgment and evaluation in the end. He excites everyone by saying that everyone should first have fun by making a snowman and riding a sleigh outside. Scarlett asks James why he ended up being a teacher. James says that when he saw that many students were looking for a mentor, he decided to fill up that spot. When he saw the pride on the faces of his students after they were taught, James decided to remain a teacher rather than a chef. Scarlett tells Claire all about James's past and how she is almost done with the holiday menu. Upon listening to the dishes on the holiday menu, Claire seems to be impressed with Scarlett. Claire also thinks that Scarlett is into James. Over the next many hours, James and Scarlett bond more, and James talk about his love for the holidays and his students. While they are out together, Scarlett gets a call from Wyatt, and she learns that Wyatt is opening his own restaurant, and he is interested in bringing in Scarlett as the head chef. Scarlett appreciates his offers, but she chooses to remain at her own restaurant. Scarlett shares with James how it was hard to follow in the footsteps of her mother, who is a highly renowned chef. She says that even though she loves her mother, their relationship is still complicated. Back at the villa, Jackie shares her old memories of her late husband with Scarlett. While she is cooking in the kitchen, Scarlett tells James that she has probably never had a real Christmas experience up until now. James thanks every single one of his students for joining his course and wishes them happy holidays before their final project. James admits that he always thought Scarlett was an incredible chef even when they both were competing back at cooking school. Scarlett advises James to come out of teaching and be a real chef again. Scarlett surprises James by inviting Wyatt to the villa and judging the final. James gets under a lot of pressure, as now a top critic would be judging James's teaching skills and the food of his students. James gets angry at Scarlett as he says that she didn't need to call Wyatt, even if everything went well in the end. Scarlett says that she invited Wyatt because she thinks that James should return as a chef. Scarlett returns to her restaurant and sits down with Claire, whereas James sits down with Rosie and Bryce. Rosie advises James to fix everything up with Scarlett, as he feels better around her. Claire advises Scarlett to do the same, as she believes that James always pushed Scarlett to the point where she performed her absolute best. Claire surprises Scarlett with her mother. Scarlett apologizes to her mother for being stubborn when she decided to open her own restaurant instead of working at her parents' restaurant. Scarlett asks for her mother's help in preparing the holiday menu for Stetson and Wyatt. The day has finally arrived where Scarlett hopes to impress both Stetson and Wyatt. Claire, Scarlett, and her mother work tirelessly in making sure everything goes perfectly. In the end, their efforts pay off and Stetson announces that he would be remaining their investor. Wyatt happily approves of the holiday menu as well. Scarlett learns that James has arrived to meet her. James apologizes for being rude to Scarlett and says that she was right when she said that James should take more risks and come back to being a chef. He acknowledges his love for Scarlett too, and they both romantically kiss. 1 year later, Scarlett's restaurant is as good as ever, and James is ready to launch his new cookbook.